What is up, everybody? So, time for the weekend review. I wasn't around last week. I went on vacation, and boy, did I miss some excitement. We finally got a nice sell-off. This week has been one of the largest sell-offs we've seen in a long, long time. We've retraced 3 weeks of action, all in a couple days, and to be quite frank, it's refreshing. We knew it was coming, and it's nice to see it finally happen. So, as usual, we're going to start from the top down, and we are going to go over what I think is important and the levels that we need to be watching. I'm also going to touch on VIX a little bit today as well, as soon as I get done with this particular area. And I think it's important to talk about this weekly TPO, and we're going to talk about the daily, and we're going to talk about the VIX. And I think it all kind of comes into combination with each other, as you'll see. So this is a large composite profile. This is 3 weeks, or 2 weeks, excuse me, put together. And then as you can see, we've just been balancing again, last week until we had this major break off right here, okay? This all happened with basically NFP, and then we had some revisions on jobs numbers, and then we had some geopolitical stuff with Russia. We've moved some nuclear subs over into their territory because they were talking shit. And so with that being said, things are starting to pop off a little bit. So it's good. Let's bring on some volatility. This summer months has been a little painful, and the slow grind on low volume has been even more painful. So it's nice to see us get a little action here, get a little rotation. And I've said it once, I say it before. We've heard all the murmurings of bear market vibes and all this stuff. As of right now, it's hard to even say that that's the case. One little pullback isn't enough to substantiate that. Anything is truly possible. All we know is we're just going to trade the chart the way it is right now. So as of right now, we just got a nice healthy pullback. We actually lost on the weekly time frame on Friday, which was a big loss. And we finally could come down in here to our 6150 area. As you guys know, multiple weeks ago, I talked about how this profile was inefficient, and we really needed to kind of make a profile low down here, or a value area low, and we haven't. And so we definitely could come down here and clean up these single prints in this weekly, and this would bring us right down into that daily and weekly support that we talked about many moons ago. Now, one of the things I want to point out to you guys is we swept this weekly low here, which caused a nice failed breakdown at the end of the day on Friday. This area, as you recall, we even talked about this. This was like some of the most volume I've seen in a long time when this printed all in one particular area. Well, lo and behold, we came down here and we held this particular spot. This is also a super important daily area that we're going to discuss. This was the support that took us all the way up to the all-time highs, as you can see. Okay, so this area is going to be like super important. We do have some significant resistance directly above us. Okay, so I obviously want to point that out to you. We had this massive gap down, so we have this huge weekly gap in this TPO, and we do have a lot of resistance up here where actually the weekly and daily supports have lost. Now, can we pop back up there right now? I'm not really sure. I am expecting a little relief, but it really depends on how we open here today and if we end up holding overnight. And the reason I say that is I'm going to show you a statistic that I found interesting. I found this online. I did some research, and it is actually true. And so, I'm going to point this out to you guys. I was just kind of trolling last night on Twitter. This guy talks about, just as John, the market sleuth, he said that the VIX was up more than 20% on a Friday, which means on historical data going back 25 years, a rally in the S&P is likely within 2 trading days, Monday or Tuesday. There's a 95% probability of this occurring given the VIX spike exceeding 20%. So obviously, we asked Grok if this was true. Grok says, yes, it absolutely is true. 38 out of 40 cases, it has happened, okay? Which is, we trade probabilities. So it's hard to deny that this is a potential area for a pop, okay? And I will say that simply because we know that this is significant daily. We understand that this has been down here multiple times. And when we start to get into the chart, you'll look and see exactly what I'm talking about. We actually swept the weekly low. We've grabbed some liquidity. And so it wouldn't surprise me to maybe kind of cruise up here a little bit, okay? We do have a very important weekly and daily, which I'm going to show you, which is generally right in this area, right here, which is right by this previous weekly POC, and it's actually a 2-week composite POC. And so this right now is its own value area, in my opinion. So we have this weekly up here, then we have the gap, and then we have this as well. Okay, so I've divided this into two sections because this is what's called a double distribution. So if we come up here, we're essentially getting into the highs of the second distribution. Also, I'll pull this over for you guys as well. It would bring us over into this area here on our TPO. This is from the daily, and we have some excess up here that needs to get cleaned up. Okay, this is all areas up here that I'm talking about where we have this significant resistance, which I'm going to show you when we go to the candlestick chart. All right, the thing is by all means, I do think we can still come down, and I think we will. I just don't think it's just going to flop, right? I think that we could get a little rotation first, maybe. It's hard to say, right? So that's why we talk about the levels and what's important to get above or below. So let's go ahead and get right into it here with this. Actually, first and foremost, let's talk about the VIX since we just pulled that up. So you guys know I track the VIX heavily. We held this weekly down here and it popped pretty good. The thing is, I really wanted to see it close above this in order for me to say, oh, the weekly gained, right? Well, it did kind of gain. So this, let me just pull over this. Let me get this chart bigger here. So the way I look at this is my support to this high right here. Whoop. And we did close above that. But in order to truly gain on the weekly, I wanted to see it close here. And it didn't. And so we have these other supports. I have one here at 1640, one at 1773. I also have the 1913, and I really wanted to see this close at 2062. Now, for those of you guys who are in the room, you know I was eyeing this spot on Friday. I said, man, we've got this huge high lost up here at 2015 or 2115, excuse me, and a big weekly at 2062. If this thing comes up here, we need to be looking for a reversal in the ES. And lo and behold, and we'll just show you, this level did play perfectly right here. And we pulled right back into our support, which is where we had a nice little reshort again when we popped up to the 62.98 area, and then this kind of fed us, all the way back up, which pushed the indices back down. So can this thing come back down? Yes, it can. All right. And if so, what are our levels? Well, we have the 1913. We also had this daily weekly combo around 1780, which I like. And then, of course, we could also come back down into the 1640 area. Now, will that happen? I don't know. I'm not a genie, right? But so that's why we just mark these areas and keep track. Obviously, this level is very important at 1913. I also love this spot here at 1773 to 1783. This is great, great spot. All right, so will we pull back? Yeah, probably on VIX. Very well possible, okay? And if that happens, then, the indices are going to go up until the VIX comes down into one of these spots. So something to keep track of. Again, my preferred spot is this spot down here. But, this certainly could provide a nice reaction. Look how nice this is played quite a few times here. You can see that it's just kind of got some confluence all the way across. So, again, this is not generally what we're focusing on right now, but I use this, just to kind of, when one comes into the other, I certainly look for a reaction there. So, with that being said, we've talked about some interesting stuff here that I found. This is, without a doubt, the daily that is super important. 62.48.25. It says fugly below. I'm sure you guys know what that means. If you don't, go to Walmart. You'll figure it out real fast. Okay? So with that being said, you can see right here we played this, popped up, and then we created our new leg up, and this was essentially the support that has held not once, not twice, but 3 times. And I guess you could say it hasn't held quite yet, but it held enough for Friday. So it held 2 really significant times. Both times took us up, and that's awesome. So, I think that this area, I guess you could say, it's absolutely tested. There's no question about it. But if it is important enough where if they wanted to hold this, they certainly could. This was a great sweep of the weekly play that I called out for the guys in the room at 41. We swept this. We regained this daily at 48, and this thing popped like 40 points. It was a great trade. Now, forget about that. Let's talk about what we're going to do. So we've got this untested weekly at 62.94. If you recall, this is the same area that I was talking about, that we had that weekly POC sitting there and a few other things that we really kind of needed to eyeball, as well as the inefficiency on the daily. Okay. We also have 62.98.50, which is the untested daily leg to the high right now. Okay. So this is a big spot, 94 to 98.50. Huge. If we back test this area and it holds, this could absolutely come back down. Okay. And if it comes back down, we're looking all the way into the 61.50 area to 61.43. And give me 1 second here. Let me mark these lower dailies as I got a little ahead of myself. Okay, so I'm back, and we have these weeklies down here. Now look, check these out. So these are these top-down weeklies here. I can make a case for these being tested. Okay, it's very close. And with that being said, I would normally discount these, but they were tested on the way up. They weren't what I would call price didn't come back and retest them. They were essentially tested on the move up. So I have these as tested ? And the reason I have that way is because there's a lot of confluence there. We have untested dailies very close, located in the same spot. Also below that, we have 60.98.25, which I like a lot. And then if we really get a significant pullback, 60.26.50 down here was pretty juicy as well. Okay, and all these areas have played multiple times on the way up, and so I'm not just picking random stuff here, guys. This is important. And so we also had the 50-day moving average here at 61.75. So this shows you what we have for the weekly. Now, if we were to really truly pop back up, this is that weekly high lost I was talking about up here. This thing is like, this is the mega short up here if we can get up here, because we've now lost on the weekly. If we pop up here, this is like swing short all the way down. Okay. Again, I don't know if we're going to get up there. That would be a pipe dream. That would be the best case scenario for shorts. But and ultimately, really just for this particular scenario, this would probably be best case. But this would be best risk to reward ratio for the mega. So with that being said, that's it for that. So now that we've talked about the weekly time frame, let's go ahead and get into the daily. And like I was saying here, I went ahead and just charted these over here. Now, we talked about this before, okay? If this thing plays the 62.94 and comes down, or regardless, if we just find acceptance below 48, we will more than likely come all the way down into this area down here, which is the weekly at 43.75, or even the dailies at 61.54 to 61.49. Both of these dailies are untested, okay? And we talked about this weeks ago, but as you guys know, we have this previous all-time high from February at 61.6650. If we were to come down here and play this area and get back above and find acceptance above 61.6650, this thing's going to squeeze, and it's going to squeeze hard. And it'll squeeze all the way back to 48 minimum, and then if we regain that, we start to look at 98.50, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so the idea of this is we're looking for a test of this area and acceptance back above 61.66, and this is just get long and go play golf until we get up here. Okay, it's like a 100-point banger, basically 80-point banger. So that's a good trade. All right, that's a great trade. But we don't know if that's going to happen until it happens, and so I'm just pointing that out for you. Okay, obviously this daily down here, 61.29. You can see it was kind of back tested on this guy here. Again, not my favorite spot, but it's here, and I'm not going to ignore it just because I can't. Absolutely can't ignore it. So with that being said, let's go ahead and move on to the next spot. Kind of making some additions here as I go, as I'm checking things out. So again, this spot right here is my preferred spot, the 49 for us to hold. If they come back down here, we do have this weekly at 29, like I was saying, that I would monitor. And really what we would be looking for is acceptance back above 61.33. When I get the 4-hour out, I'll show you. There's actually a spot directly below that, however, at 61.2250 that has 2 4-hour levels in this daily. This is a nice spot to me. Really nice. Okay, really nice. The next spot that I really like, we talked about, is the 60.98. And that would put us directly underneath this significant daily at 60.10 that played right here, as you can see. And if we get acceptance, there's a daily at 60.93 and a weekly at 60.98. If they play this and get back above 61.10, this thing could just rip, and then above 61.33, and then again above our 54s and our 66, and it could take us all the way back up. Worst case scenario, we probably come back into these monthlies at 60, 63, and try again. But again, these are all, you guys can see my levels if you want to look lower, but this is very speculative, and I'm not so certain we'll see that this week, but you never know. So I at least wanted to bring you down a couple hundred points so you can get an idea of what happens if we do get a pretty rash sell-off. Okay, so with that being said, let's go ahead and just kind of recap what to do up here if we get a pop up here. So we have this very significant area at 98, 94 that we're going to be looking for resistance and potentially follow through down below 48. Below 48, it's lights out, it's curtains, more than likely all the way down for another 100 points. Okay, just keep it real with you guys. If they get down under here, it is over with. 63.20 to 63.23 area. We actually had this level on the way up. We played both of these levels here. This took us up, and then if you guys recall, I don't know if you were in the room or maybe I did in the weekend review, we talked about how 63.20 was still a setup, and then we swept this daily, played this one and went. I actually was able to hold one runner and took it up about 100 points. I think about 100 points. I took one at 80 and another one at, I don't know, 110 points or something. Doesn't matter. With that being said, this thing was awesome. And so knowing that both of these levels played and took us to new all-time highs twice, this is going to be our massive daily line in the sand. Okay, so, just being open underneath this was like goodbye. And that's obviously what happened. So this is going to be our big line in the sand. The next area is going to be the 63.44.75. This is our current daily leg to the all-time high. And if this comes up here, I would be looking for a reaction. And I would be looking for a reaction to bring me back into 63.20. I know it's only like 20 points. So it's still pretty good. The thing is these areas are tested. And so, if 63.44 plays to 63.20 and they start to lose 20, then this thing's just going to melt. So above 63.44, though, we really could come all the way up to the 64.12 to 64.31 area, with that weekly high loss being at the 64.25 spot. Super juicy up here. Okay, so I'm going to pull over the 4 hour now, and then we're going to call it. So let me just kind of get started with that. And all right. So let me hide this other drawings here. It's just the 4 hour for us to take a look at. So what do we have right now? Well, as well as this daily down here that we had, as you can see, this guy at 48, we had this significant 4 hour at 62.40. I mean, this is kind of, in combination with the daily, which has been propping us up so far, kind of gives you a little bit better idea of what we're looking at. Directly below that, we have a 4 hour at 62.20.75 that I don't like. I really don't. But where I would be interested in it is acceptance above 62.24. If they play this and get acceptance above 24, I could be interested in buying this up to the 62.40 spot and then see if we get continuation that much higher. I actually have a spot here at 62.02 that I'm monitoring. It's not really a level, but I wanted to point that out to you guys just because I'm monitoring it, and I think it's important for you guys to understand areas that I'm looking at. As we continue to move lower, if you guys remember, I said there was a good spot around 61.23, which was a daily. I'll go ahead and turn this on for you. Right here, okay, you can see we have 2 4 hours. I have 61.25.50, 61.19, 19 being the preferred favorite, with the daily right in between at 23. If this plays and we get back above 61.30, again, triggers another failed breakdown. So, if you're concerned about taking these trades on first touch and you're looking for some sort of confirmation, acceptance above 61.30 will get the job done. Okay, below that, this is again another daily 4 hour spot we talked about, 60.91. We have a bomb ass daily down here we talked about at 92. We've got a naked POC at 92.25. We got this 4 hour at 91.25. This is an awesome top down. And there's a weekly at 60.98.25. I love everything about this. This is awesome. The only thing I don't like about it is it puts us damn near dead smack in the middle of the weekly TPO gap, but that's normal to do a half gap. So I wouldn't be so surprised if they played this and got a reaction. Really what we'd be looking for, and again, this is, if you I hate to wait this long, but I'm just going to throw this out there. If you were to play this area, you could really wait to get acceptance above 61.10.50, okay? And then you know that this thing is going to go, all right? And the same applied, to backtrack it to the 61.25 to 61.19 area, I said that you could get long above 61.30, and that's true. Because don't forget, we have the daily, we have a weekly here at 61.29, and we have another weekly at 61.33. So if this area comes up, gets acceptance above the 30.33, this thing is going to boogie, and it's going to boogie right back up to the 61.40s area, 61.50s area. We need to reclaim that to continue our move higher. Again, the lower that we move underneath the support, it's more stuff that we have to regain, but the more stuff we regain, the better our chances of continuation are. Okay, actually, I just noticed there's also a previous weekly naked POC right here at 61.47 and a 2-day POC at 61.46, all in combination with my favorite spot here around the 61.50s. So sorry to focus on that. That's really my key area right now. So below this, and I said that, we didn't really talk about it that much, and we looked at the higher time frame, but we got this monthlies down here at 60.63, 60.67. We also have a 2-week composite value area high. Directly below that, we have a daily at 60.55 that I like. You could wait for this area to play and then get back above these monthlies if you were looking for confirmation, but then we have to regain 60.93. And then the nasty lasties down here, in my opinion, are the 60.26 area. We have a weekly and a daily here at 60.25. As you can see, I have watch. I don't really love this daily, but I do like the weekly, and so it kind of stands out to me. I also like the 2-week naked POC, composite POC down here. I like that there's a 4-hour at the same exact level at 60.42 with a naked POC. And then below this, we actually have the 4-hour that I like a lot, which is 61.10. But again, we play this and we have to continue to start regaining stuff. But it might be good for a nice scalp for 15, 20 points, just to kind of see what's going to happen. So this is a juicy 4-hour right there. I like that. And then obviously I like the 60.92 spot a lot. And that kind of breaks it down for you guys. So that's what I'm looking at. That's what I got. I hope you guys have an amazing week. Be careful, be safe. We've talked about a lot of interesting stuff today with VIX and and a statistic that is new to me. And so with that being said, when we open on Monday, look for above or below 62.48 and watch your ass at 62.98 to 62.95. We know our high time frame line in the sand is going to be 62.23, and above that we have another daily here that I like at 63.44 and a 4-hour at 63.36. If we move above this area here, above 63.56, which is another 4-hour, go ahead and hide this for you guys. We will come all the way up here and test these highs. Okay? Do I think that happens? I have no idea. Not really. I mean, we've kind of lost on every time frame so far. So I would like to assume that we're going to have more down. My gut tells me that it'll probably come from the 98 area, but you never know. So we just got to play it by ear, and I'll see you guys on the battlefield. Cheers.